Good morning, everyone. By this time, I think the topic has been made abundantly clear. Where are we? Oh, yes, the Interfaith Center for Spiritual Growth. Spiritual growth, what a concept. Can you imagine actually growing your spiritual awareness? Indeed, that's what we're here for, isn't it? Yes. So we've heard already that forgiveness might be a little bit difficult. When the rubber meets the road, the ego raises its hackles and flees into the comfort of judgment. Did you know that judgment and forgiveness are exact opposites? Indeed, that is the case. They are at loggerheads with one another. You're either in judgment or you're in forgiveness. So it's important, I think, that we spend just a moment or two on some basic metaphysical principles, because they really, if you can wrap your arms around them and enfold them into your consciousness, you will find that it's just a little bit easier to do this forgiveness thing. So, the first principle is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that is who and what we are. We are spirit. We happen to have a body, but that is not who or what we are. We have bodies, we use them as communication devices, but that's not who we are. Because life in spirit is eternal. Eternal. That means it never ends. The life that you live as a spiritual being never ends. Consequently, what happens to the body is really just a blink on the history of you as a spiritual being. It simply isn't terribly germane. It feels like it. Am I ready to check out this afternoon? No, I don't want to do that because I'm having fun. And I like having fun, and I'm going to keep doing it for the foreseeable future. But, however, back behind all of that is the notion that when the transition occurs, physical death of the body is simply, to put it in legal terms, a change of venue. You're just moving from one dimension to another, one room in the mansion to another room. That's all that's happening. When, you may not know this, but I've talked about it enough. I've made a study of near-death experiences. And one of the things that is so surprising to people in this crossover mode is that they find, wow, I'm still alive. I'm looking at my body, but I'm still functioning. I'm still thinking. I'm still existing. And it's such a surprise to most people, because we have this notion that death is a tragedy. It's the end of the world. I will never be again. But that is just such a tiny bit of the story. Another spiritual principle that comes from A Course in Miracles is this, and that is that everything that happens in the world is one of two things. It is either an expression of love, an extension of love, or a cry for help and healing. And those are the only two possibilities. So if it's not an extension of love, it's somebody saying, please love me, please help me, Please help me heal. So those are the background concepts that impact this thing called forgiveness. Forgiveness is truly our only function. Another quote, our only function in this world is to forgive. Forgive everyone for everything. Because you see, the need for forgiveness, whenever reactivity shows up in the body, what's happening is that you are seeing someone behaving in ways that you know about. You've heard the expression, it takes one to know one. Guess what? When somebody's pushing your buttons, they are demonstrating an aspect of yourself that you don't like. And what have you done? You have projected that perception out onto whoever's closest to you. That's what projection is, and that's how this whole thing shows up. That's how it works. That's what's going on. And instead of being reactive, instead of being judgmental, instead of screaming about needing to build a wall or get rid of all of those people or do something drastic, recognize that what's really going on is an innocent soul has been confused and has taken on an activity that's based on a false premise. They believe that they need to do something in order to ensure that they get what they're entitled to. And that's based on this misperception that there isn't enough. I want you to know there is enough. Everything is energy. Nothing exists except energy. If you take apart this podium, it's wood fibers and a little bit of casein glue. And it has within it atomic particles. And within those atomic particles are subatomic particles. And those subatomic particles at the finest parsing are nothing but little bits of energy whirling around so fast that they seem to be solid. So everything is energy. And we used to think that deep space was a vacuum, but it's not. It is full of energy. It is full of things called dark matter, dark energy. It's just jam-packed with energy. So how can there be a shortage of energy? There simply is not a shortage of energy. Another thing that gets in the way of forgiveness is this notion that there's going to be a judgment day and we better follow the rules or we're going to be in trouble. But I promise you, I absolutely promise you, and I have it directly from the mouth of Yeshua, who I have a deep and abiding relationship with. And it is so abundantly clear that the Creator does not judge. We've all heard the notion that God is simply infinite, unconditional love. Unconditional love. Not, I'll love you if you follow the rules. Not, I'll love you if you make my breakfast for me. Not any of those other conditions. Unconditional love. I love you just the way you are. And what's really going on in this whole play act that we see going on in the world is a co-creative effort on the part of all of the souls to experience ourselves as divine beings. So we create this pile of garbage that doesn't look very divine. And the reason is, who's going to learn about forgiveness if everybody is sweetness and light? If everybody says, I love you all the time, what are you going to learn? How are you going to learn forgiveness? How is that possible? And that's why we engage in this process of creating a pile of garbage. And the world is clearly a pile of garbage. The world needs cleaning up, but it's not going to happen because we go out and march carrying signs that say, clean up the garbage pile, or whatever aspect of this pile of garbage we are objecting to at the moment. That's not how it's going to happen. The way it's going to happen is that we awaken to our true selves. Imagine what a justice system would look like in a world where everyone knew that everyone else was an innocent child of the divine. And if everybody knew that, if everybody could simply get that everyone else is a brother and sister in spirit, if you could get that and knew that there was no lack, that there was no shortage, that you didn't have to cheat and steal and lie and rob and commit murder and all of the things that people do because they think they need to survive themselves. If we actually knew deep down at the deepest level that we do survive, the body may not survive. The body surely will not survive. We know that. But while it exists, our mission is to wake up. How do we wake up? We process this idea of forgiving everyone for everything because they are innocent. They are simply unaware of who they are. They are unaware of who the rest of us are. They think that they're the body that they're wearing. And that's the problem. That is the problem. And how do we fix it? We fix it one consciousness at a time. So when you decide, when you notice some reactivity building up, your gut tightens up and you want to say something mean to somebody, notice that you are being given the opportunity to forgive something about yourself that you don't like. And you should, and it would be most wonderful for you to say, I see myself falling into judgment. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to heal myself. And when you do that, when that happens, you are opening up the pipeline into your soul. There is a pipeline that can get crowded up with garbage. It can get crowded up with judgment. It can get dysfunctional, totally dysfunctional, when you are feeling judgmental and angry and this world is a pile of garbage. And it literally causes dis-ease. Your judgmental blockage of the pipeline to your soul causes physical damage. It causes the cells, the cellular structure to fall apart, to go crazy, literally. And disease happens. I have a little anecdote to tell you. I had a friend who had gone through a very unpleasant divorce. And he literally hated his ex-wife. And every time I was together with him, he would always talk about that bitch. And he was angry and bitter and hated actively his ex. And he came down with brain cancer and died. And I know, I can't prove it, and medical science would never say, well, obviously that was the cause. But I know what the cause was. His bitterness and his judgment and his refusal to forgive and see the innocence of all beings was the cause of his early demise. And he left the planet at, he wasn't even 60 years old at the time. So I guarantee you that this is something that you do for yourself. You do this for you. If you knew what judgment did to your body, you would never take it on again. And it requires vigilance. You have to pay attention to what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and particularly to the words that come out of your mouth. Jesus is reported to have said to the people listening to him, don't worry about these rules about what you eat. You're not defiled by what goes into your mouth. You're defiled by what comes out of your mouth. So there are so many reasons to do this thing called forgiveness. It's really, really an important part of awakening. And of course, that's what we're all up to. And when you do this thing called forgiveness, you are opening up this pipeline to your soul, which is your connection to the divine. That's what's feeding your awareness of who and what you are. And when you grow that, when you clean out the stuff that has blocked this passageway to your soul, to the divine spark that lives within you, you become literally more godlike. And that is just what we're up to. David Hawkins, in his great work, was knighted by the King of Denmark for his work and was an amazing soul. And he said, the single most important thing that any being can do for the good of the planet is to raise their own consciousness level. And so we're talking the same stuff. Become more and more aware of who you are. Who you are is an expression of divinity. And the only thing that gets in the way of expressing more and more divinity is your belief in the egoic thought system. That, oh, I'm just this, I'm just that, and there's not enough of anything, and I gotta be better than them, or I'm in trouble. All of that is a story that was invented by fear. And fear is not appropriate. There literally is nothing to fear, because there is an infinitely loving creator who loves us completely. We live forever. We never cease to exist. What's the problem? Oh, I might have a problem with this little aspect of my eternal life, but so what? What we're up to is learning the truth of these basic principles. And you can accomplish that by being willing to forgive yourself for the projections that you have heaped on your neighbors, to forgive everyone for everything, and to be who you really are. And isn't that the point? Isn't that what we're up to? So, I want to end with this little ditty. It comes from Gail Prather, who was married to Hugh Prather, a longtime student of A Course in Miracles, author, convener of organizations. In fact, he founded a church called the Dispensable Church in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Annie and Larry attended the Dispensable Church and knew Hugh and Gail quite well. And a year after Hugh passed away in 2010, Gail published this little article in Miracles magazine. And the question was, what would Hugh have to say today? And this is what Gail wrote in 2011. Do not be afraid to love. Forgive quickly and easily. Trust your capital S self, the holy child of God. Never forget who you are. And please don't take the world so seriously. Let it fade from your sight so that you behold love's splendor. And like Bill Thetford said, never forget to laugh. And that's my opinion today, and I'm sticking to it.